Hey guys, welcome to Appalachia's Homestead. Patara with you today. It's time to plant those taters. We've got all of our seed potatoes cut, healed over, ready to go. The weather's great, so let's get started. All right guys, so here we go. I have my full 25-pound bag of the non-GMO Kennebec potato seeds, okay? Right there, your certified seed potatoes. And I'm getting ready to not only cut them, but I'm also going to be treating them. So we're going to go over this, okay? Now, when you get your seed potatoes, you want to put them in a warm, dark place, somewhere where they can really start sprouting, okay? So you want these eyes. Those are called the eyes, okay? You want those coming out. And so what I'm going to be doing is cutting these. Now, if you've got little potatoes, little babies, like maybe even this one. Oh, well, actually, not this one, actually. I may cut that one in half. Sometimes you get little potatoes with just 2 or 3 eyes. I would plant the whole potato, okay? Maybe this one will do. Yeah, that's more like it. This is a good one. That will go, this won't get cut, versus I will probably cut this one in half along this line, because the idea is you want to have 2, if not 3 eyes per potato, okay? So this one is debatable on cutting. This one I will not cut, okay, for sure, right there. But you can see some of these bigger ones up here. Sometimes you can cut a potato 3 times. Sometimes you can cut them in a quarter. It just depends upon how many eyes that you have, but ideally you want about 3, okay? So just judge that, use your own judgment, and know that if all of your potatoes only get cut in half and some don't get cut, you're still gonna be all right, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut these. I've already started down here. The reason I wear gloves is because I am trying sulfur this year. What? What is she doing? All right, so when you cut these potatoes in half, they have to heal, okay? That's wet. If you put that in the ground, some people still do it. I've done it, and I didn't have any trouble, but it's all weather dependent, right? Well, we've had a lot of rain, so I'm trying to safeguard myself. The ground's pretty dry right now, but we know how wet it's been the past year up here in Tennessee. So nonetheless, so you want these to be cut, and you want to take some time for them to heal over. A couple of days is ideal. I may push it a little bit, but to help them heal up a little bit faster, what I'm going to be doing is putting them, which I've already started, is putting them over here in sulfur, powdered sulfur. You want to get you some powdered sulfur from your garden center, your co-op, okay, right there. Remember to don't directly breathe it in. I am wearing gloves, okay, always good to have on a homestead for, Lord, all kinds of things. But, you're going to put these in here, lightly dust them, okay? Take them out and put them in a tray for them to dry and heal, okay? The sulfur is going to help that process. You don't want these to get rotten or to rot, develop disease and all that. Some folks don't use sulfur at all. I'm going to try it this year and see how we go. So I'm just going to put 1 or 2 seed potato cuttings in a bag, lightly dust them, and take them out, lay them over in the tray as I've already started over here, and going to let them continue to heal over for planting. By the way, these little trays, if you go and buy plants at, at the local plant center or Lowe's or wherever, and you get these trays, keep them. Look how handy these are. They'll be used in a multitude of ways around your homestead. So I'm going to continue to cut, I'm going to continue to coat, and we're going to get them all laid out and healed. Again, I'm planting the Kennebec and my own Yukon Golds this year. So we'll see how it goes. All right, guys, so here we go. I've marked my spots. I'm going to start with 2 rows for my potatoes. This ground has been turned and it's dry. It's really great. We're having great weather this April here now in Tennessee. Let's hope that sticks. So we are going to be planting. I'm going to make my rows. You're going to want to make them fairly deep when you start to go in. I would argue anywhere from, 8 to 12 inches. I'd try to go really deep because you want them covered, because you're not going to start mounding up until they really the plants start coming up and growing. So you want all of that to stay dark. So the first thing we're going to do is we've marked our area. We're taking over the bottom portion of the garden because that's how we're rotating this year. And we are going to be planting our Kennebecs and our Yukon Golds. All right, guys, I've got my trench all the way dug, and it's about 10 inches deep approximately, so that's pretty good, which we're going to cover it really well. But before I put my potato seeds into the ground, I'm going to be adding bone meal. Now there's several ways that you can apply this, okay? It's adding phosphorus back to the ground. It's a slow release natural fertilizer, okay? So you don't have to resort to 10-10-10 or anything like that, or any other 6-12-12 or whatever. This is a natural approach. You can put this in and with compost and till it in. You can do your, dig your trench and then put in compost. I already have compost in the ground, so I'm not worried about that. You can put it in the actual spots where you put your potatoes, or you can just sprinkle it around. Some folks will do it around what you're seeing there, a quart jar for every 100 square feet. So I'm just going to be real light with it and go right down the trench just to make it easy, because it is hot as blazes out here. But the bone meal is really good because it's going to help your roots and your tubers grow, okay? So that's what you are going to want. So we'll start sprinkling this baby in and we'll get rocking and rolling. Just so you know, my rows are going to be about 60 feet each. So I've shortened them a little bit this year because we're going to do some other things. So just to let you know the length here that I'm dealing with. And what I may do is sprinkle an area, which is about maybe a fourth of a cup. And then I'm going to stop, because you're going to put your potatoes in about every foot, okay? So this isn't exact and approximately the exact measurement, but I'm eyeballing it. So about a fourth of a cup or so around every area that you think you're going to be putting a potato seed in. So we'll just keep working. All right, guys, this is my first tray of my Kennebecs, and we're going to start putting them in there about a foot apart and see how they do. They are now 2 days old in terms of cutting and healed, so they've healed over pretty good. A lot of them are solid potatoes, as I told you before. So we're just going to start placing them in, and we're going to start covering this up, and we'll get to the last phase for now. Just to mention, if you're working with the lime, don't forget to have some type of gloves on just for precautions. And again, you want them about a foot apart, and you want your eyes up. See how the eyes are more up? So they will grow up, just to let you know. All right, guys, I clearly have potatoes left over, so we may be placing in a third row, which is not a bad problem to have, right? So we've worked with what we've got. We have 2 rows going, as you can see. We've covered them both on each side. So when you pull the dirt over, then we go back over on the other side and we pull it up again. All my helpers have come out. So over here on this side is where I planted the Yukon Golds, which we're finishing up the mounding right now. And I have the Kennebecs over here. The Kennebecs are a different potato than the Yukon Golds. You're going to look at somewhere around an 80 to 100 day maturation on these, okay? So always mark your calendar, so that's what I will mark today. At the same time, I've got over here my Yukon Golds. They go somewhere, depends on, some people say 70 days, some people say 80. I pulled them at 70 last year because it was getting so wet. When I get around the time I think they can be really matured, long past blooming and all of that, the plants are starting to fall over, I test 2 or 3. And I go from there. Go with your gut, people. Go with your gut. Because had I waited on my Yukon Golds last year, I really think we would have lost our harvest, because we had 4 days of unbelievable rain that came in. So I pulled them. So anyway, so you're looking at 70, 80 days, roughly 80 to 100. So, and they're different potatoes. It's just according to what you like. My Yukon Golds have held really well, stored really well, but that depends upon your storage. So what I'm going to do next, take you right back around here, is straw. I'm telling you, straw is the secret to success in much of your gardening. So is grass clippings, to keep the weeds down. Now, I mound my potatoes when they come up over here. So you're going to want to mound it. I'm putting down straw on top of my mounds. I cannot see my camera, by the way. I'm doing my best. It's so bright out here. I'm doing the best I can. So long story short, we have mounded it on each side. These potatoes are deep in the ground. They're 8 to 10 inches deep or so, and then we have mounded another good 6 inches or so on top. You want them deep. You want the light to not penetrate in on them, okay? You don't want them to turn green. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm bringing straw on top of my mounds. I use grass clippings like crazy in my garden in between my rows to keep the weeds down, but on top of my plants for mulching, I'm telling you, straw, straw, and more straw. So let's get started. All right, guys, we're going to close it out. We've got the first 2 rows done. Coach East is letting everybody know he's around, but we just want to close it out. I did want to mention again about the 2 different rows. They're about 60 feet. You have your Yukon Golds and your Kennybecks. We love to top everything off with straw. When we see the plants, they will just bust right through that straw. Do not worry about that straw. It's not going to keep them down, okay? They will bust right through. It's going to keep all your weeds and all your problems down in terms of your plants. But also, note that my rows are about 5 feet apart. When you read how far you should distance your rows, most people will tell you 3 feet. I'm going to tell you right now 4 to 5. I have learned the hard way with gardening that the more I cram, the less, and give myself less space later in terms of working the garden, it really becomes an issue. You want to give your plants space. You want to give them good air circulation, good airflow, especially with your tomatoes. Oh my. I will never plant anything closer than 4 feet together in terms of rows, okay? Give yourself the time and space. Come July, you're going to thank me that I told you this. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. If you like what you see, like and subscribe. We're going to go have some sweet iced tea and enjoy the evening, and we're going to think about where we're going to put this 3rd row. Y'all take care out there.